Travis, my good soul. July of 2017, I made a video that has been my #1 video on this channel, untouched, ever since. And it's mostly because the church ordered YouTube to silence my videos and channel and hide them from you with the algorithms and etc., etc. But with all the new Mormons that have come around, and ex-Mormons that have come around to find my channel finally, only a handful have continued to listen to me over the amount of time when they first joined. And so there's just a few who have actually been with me for years. And it's been sad to see those who have been with me, who pretended to be my friend, and then make a comment indicating that they never believed anything I was telling them. And there was even one person who pretended to be my friend and asked questions, and then after a while he says, "You're full of it." Seriously? You didn't really put much effort in, did you? You just did a surface claim, pretended to be a friend, and were actually lying to me about your intentions. And I had thought about doing a video in which I would go into your mind, not having my education and my knowledge that I have gained with my decipherment of Paleo-Hebrew, becoming a foremost anthropologist of the ancient Middle East, using the decipherment of Paleo-Hebrew to go on and to decipher the learning of the Egyptians and the language of the Egyptians, rather than learning of the Greeks and the language of the Egyptians, which Egyptologists say they know Egyptian from. Rosetta Stone. And then that led me to discover that the Bible stories come from the Egyptian stories, and then I started recognizing that the stories are from signs in the heavens for the latter days. And here we are in the latter days, as I've been trying to help you guys see the danger we're all in. And now Armageddon has begun. Islam is preparing the way for Jesus Christ to come and destroy the Christians and the Mormons who believed in him. If you're not going to watch the video, you have no one else but yourself to blame for not watching the video with the information on the subject matter. Over 3.2 thousand videos after all these years. And apparently the subscribers are all ghosts. Because of YouTube's analytics. And so I did the video test to see if anybody's talking about the latter days. Ex-Mormons aren't doing it, and neither are Mormons. Nobody's talking about the latter days. And it's sad, because it realizes I've been wasting my time on you. We've been dating all these years, and I wasted my time with you. I first heard that in the older singles ward. Oh, Mormon women. Just because the church is abusing you doesn't mean you have to abuse us men. But it's even sadder that the majority of Mormon women blame themselves. And so, yeah, I retired because I fulfilled my mission. I warned you, and you made your choice. Mormons chose not to believe. And so, despite warning you of Mormon Jesus coming to murder you, because you're supposed to be Muslim, I don't think Christians know. I mean, they are abusive towards Islam, yeah, but I don't think they fully know that Islam stole Jesus, turned him into a Muslim, and said that Jesus' second coming is to murder Christians. But wait! This is after Roman Emperor Constantine, who turned Jesus, created him, made him the man like Moses, which Muhammad was the man like Moses, and then Jesus is stolen from Christianity and turned into a weapon back against Christians. And so Jesus was stolen from the Jewish authors of their Christ, who is a man like Moses, for the latter days. Not the Roman period time, the latter days. But Christians, Roman Emperor Constantine, First Creed of Nicaea, created Jesus, stole the character and the name from the authors of the Gospels, who were Jews, prophesying of a latter-day Christ, their Christ, the Jewish Christ, not the Christian Christ of the Roman period time, turned into literal history by Christians with the Nicene Creed. That is now literal history. They're not prophecies anymore. And that Jesus is going to come back for a second coming to murder everyone in Armageddon. That's going on right now. Both Islam and the Jews. Jesus, the Christian Jesus, is going to murder Islam and the Jews. Muslim Jesus is going to murder the Christians and the Jews. There's a common denominator of a victim here. That's the Jews. And so Brigham Young took Joseph Smith's Christ, turned him into Jesus, but he's non-Trinitarian now. And he's going to come back and murder Christians, Jews, and Muslims. Oh my God. What were our founding fathers thinking, giving religious freedom? When most of them were deists and not a part of any religion. Until Christians came along and said they're now Christian. Even the church, Wilford Woodruff. Oh, the founding fathers came to me in a vision and I baptized them. They're now Mormon. Oh my God. It's just nobody cares to know the truth. And so this was the bicentennial year. And the church just said it's about the restoration of the gospel. Which, the Muslim Jesus, it's the Book of Mormon. They're working together. The Injil, I think it's called in Arabic. Oh, God. But it's sad. Mormons claim they study their scriptures, and they don't have a clue. They know nothing of it. So that's why I was thinking I'd be in the mind of a Mormon and try to help you learn the scriptures without the knowledge and experience and publications and decipherments and discoveries that I've made, because I've actually studied. But I guess it's too complicated. Brigham Young has succeeded in his plot. And it's worked. Because he lied about all things Joseph. Did the replacements, forged documents, just all a cover-up of what Joseph Smith was all about. And so, when the United States shut down Brigham Young's church under John Taylor, the United States refused to have that church open up again. No more of the business criminal behavior anymore. No more. And so in 1923, with Mormons in position of government here in the state of Utah, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints resurrected from the dead with new articles of incorporation. Heber J. Grant. And Mormons were oblivious that the church had ever been taken from the face of the earth, and that the prophets leading them were double-downed false prophets. And so, because they couldn't have the same church as Brigham Young and do the same criminal activities as Brigham Young, they instead embraced evangelical doctrines merged to replace Joseph Smith. And so, when original documents began to be found in people's journals expressing their feelings, hearsay reports came out, the church was pretending to be concerned. Oh no, we're being exposed for having lied to Mormons. Brigham Young already set it up. Because what people are finding out, and what the church came out and confessed with the Gospel Topics essays, is that they have been lying. But by they, what they've been lying about was created by Heber J. Grant, 1923. 1921, he redid the Doctrine and Covenants, took out the lectures on faith. So the doctrine is gone from the Doctrine and Covenants. And so what critics are doing videos for, condemning the church, is they think that the lies of Brigham Young are what's being exposed as the truth about Joseph Smith, not realizing that Brigham Young had done a whole cover-up of Joseph Smith. And so the church, having successfully fooled ex-Mormons and former Mormons and critics of the church, felt it was okay now to come out again and say that their Gospel Topics essays that they released, saying that they had lied to us, are now also lies. Joseph Smith papers are now the official source. But they won't change our scriptures. They won't make the changes necessary to tell Mormons the truth. And they can't. If they were to tell you the truth that we're not Christian, Jesus is not our Christ, that we're learning of the Jews, that we have the learning of the Jews Christ, a man like Moses, that's what Joseph Smith is telling us here in verse 40 of the Joseph Smith history of 1838. Because it goes to Acts. You're supposed to go to Acts, and then you're supposed to find out who that prophet is. It's a man like Moses. And then, okay, well, Moses said, well, where is that in the New Testament? Where's the book of Moses in the New Testament? No, it's the Old Testament. Christians made the designation. And so, no, you go to the law of the Jews, Deuteronomy. And there it is. There's the quote. And the church footnoted it for you back in 1981 with the triple, 79 for the Bible. But they won't footnote you to where Joseph Smith and the Book of Mormon tells you he's the learning of the Jews, a man like Moses. They won't tell you that the Christ of the Jews in the future, in the latter days, is a human being with human parents in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the great and abominable church. Because if Nelson were to come out and say, hey, we lied to you, we're making the changes necessary according to the Joseph Smith papers, we're the great and abominable church, so we expect you to still keep paying tithing, still go to the temple, still keep the covenant path, still go to church, still go on missions, keep recruiting, because we're the great and abominable church now. We're coming out and confessing. We've lied to you all these years, all these decades, these 2 centuries. Joseph Smith's church is not this church. You got deceived. We deceived you. So we expect your payment in the mail. Online, deposited, continually paid. Would you still pay it? The church won't do that. That's the whole problem. They can't. Their whole con would be up. The United States would go, what? You're not a religion after all? And you've been 501c. You are not a religion, therefore you didn't register as a foreign agent. And then we've got insurance fraud, and then we've got paying Putin for the war in Ukraine, and paying China, and paying the Saudi Arabians, and working with the Council for National Policy to overthrow the Constitution and destroy the United States of America so that the church can have their kingdom back. They cannot tell you this. They cannot tell you the truth. They've got to keep as many deceived Mormons as possible. And it's not because of finances. Because a whistleblower told us back in 2019 the church is making more in interest than they receive in revenue for tithing. And Mormons still don't want to see it. But you have to study to see it. When the Book of Mormon, the keystone of Mormonism, tells you in 1 Nephi chapter 1 verse 2, it's the learning of the Egyptians, or the learning of the Jews, language of the Egyptians. You're supposed to look for the language of the Egyptians translated into English to know the identity of your Christ. And they give you it in the Book of Mormon. It's right there. You just don't see it because you've used Christian interpretation. And so, Lehi's second vision, which is an exact same pattern match with Joseph Smith's second vision, about what? The day that shall burn as an oven. So what's Lehi's second vision? He's given a book talking about destruction. Joseph Smith gets the Book of Mormon and is told about destruction. And so the church covers it up and hides it in the beginning of the Book of Mormon introductory pages where they reprint the Joseph Smith history, but take out the second vision about the Christ and the day that shall burn as an oven. Just asterisks, 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 asterisks. That's it. And so, verse 9, it came to pass that he saw one descending out of the midst of heaven, and behold, his luster was that of the sun of the noonday. That's strange. Sun of noonday, huh? So you Google search Egyptian god or Egyptian sun god at noonday, and it'll pop up Ra. But then you'll see in the paragraph Amen, noonday. Language of the Egyptians. And then you go to the passage in 2 Nephi that's directly plagiarized from Isaiah. His name shall be Emmanuel. And you should at least know enough that the church has allowed you to know that El means God. And so it's God, Amen. Hey, phonetically the same as the Egyptian deity who's the sun god at noonday. Ta-da! The Jews of the Bible are speaking prophecies for the latter days from the Egyptian records that are the prophecies for the latter days. Learning of the Jews, language of the Egyptians. The Jews were Egyptian before they got taken into captivity by Babylon. They had to give tribute to Egypt. They were not an independent nation. And so, yeah, everybody hates the Jews. Babylon destroyed the Jews. The Greeks subjected the Jews to bondage, stole their brand new temple. The Romans destroyed the new temple, destroyed them, but couldn't exterminate them. So Constantine created Christianity, and they chased them all over Europe. And then Muhammad created Islam and said Jesus is coming in the latter days to destroy Christians and thus Mormons and the Jews. And so, yeah, and his scorched earth conversion therapy was also trying to exterminate the Jews. And then Brigham Young. And people don't get it. Everybody's against Israel right now, claiming that they don't belong on the land that was theirs way back before Babylon first attacked the Jews. And so, yeah, it's called Palestine, which comes from Philistine, which are the Philistines of the Old Testament. And Samson the Danite of Brigham Young's church is to save the Mormon Jews. And the 3 deaths are the 3 days of darkness for the latter days. Well, all these years, and I failed. Mormons continue to believe in Jesus, continue to believe the church is not criminal and that they're true, and have no idea of the threat that's coming. Because for Islam to find out that Jesus is Muslim and is going to destroy Mormons along with Christians and Jews, that just confirmed the videos that I was already doing with the breakout of the war to warn you about the threat of Islam here in the Utah Valley. And this is how you do research. You develop theories that can be tested. And so, learning of the Islamic latter days is just another test and got a confirmation, and it's now established fact because it's been more than 3. Fast 9. They're out in space talking about it. And so, yeah, with Muhammad going to the top of the mountain, receiving the Quran to form Islam, here we have Utah, which, yeah, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints loves to claim the fulfillment of prophecy being on the top of the mountains. Isaiah. That's why Hinckley built the conference center, so that all nations would come to Zion. And so the church, if you've been watching my church history or church news videos, they're bragging. Leaders of nations and religious leaders are coming to Zion, shaking the hands of the first presidency. That's the disadvantage you have of not watching all my videos all these years, is you don't see the big picture I see, and I'm trying to present to you in little short 5-hour segments. You don't care to know. You don't know of the threat. That Islamic centers are focused on Utah. Nowhere else. Utah has the highest concentration of Islamic centers. That should scare you. I mean, it's bad enough that China was buying up Utah land. But now, to see that the Islamic centers are not only in a high concentration in this valley, but they're perfectly positioned for a strike, an attack, and confirmation. They believe in the latter days Jesus is coming to destroy you for Judgment Day, which today is Friday. They just had their Friday replacement prayer from other days of the week, in which they quote from Muhammad, "We're going to destroy the heathen." And so I warn you, we got a 9/11 coming up on a Friday in the Jewish calendar. It's Black Friday on the day after Thanksgiving. And why then? Because Islam believes that Western culture is evil. And shopping is a part of that. They think it's vain and wicked. They are our judges, and they have found us guilty because we are polluting them and their children. Therefore, we have to die. And they don't consider it murder. They call it self-defense, that they're the victims. They are incapable of living among us. There will only be peace for them if they exterminate us. And so they love to claim victim. And they've gotten into our Congress. And they're positioning themselves for a strike because Israel hesitated. And so Hamas is able to regroup and work on planning their next attack. As the news keeps saying, any day now, a ground invasion, any day now, any day. Say the first strike by Hamas didn't produce the desired results, so the Palestinian Islamic Jihadist group bombed their own hospital to blame the Jews, and that worked. But it's dying down as everybody's turning on Israel. Amnesty International, the Red Cross, the UN, Biden goes back and forth. He's probably too old, can't remember whose side he's supposed to support. Like M. Russell Ballard. Am I supposed to support Tim Ballard? I don't think so. I can't remember. I don't know Tim. Who? I take pictures with lots of people. Oh, was he a lawyer? The coup to overthrow the government? I don't remember her. She wasn't my lawyer. And so, yeah, it's sad that Mormons refuse to lift the Christian blinders, to see that the scriptures of the Jews who were Egyptian, taking it from the Egyptians, were not only prophetic, they were precisely accurate, down to the actual literal names of the protagonist and the antagonist. Right, Russell Marion? And so, yeah, it is frustrating that, I began to get sidetracked by talking about other doctrinal matters and criminality of the church. But in the last video, I was realizing, this going off on branch-offs doesn't help you guys. I need to focus on warning you of what is about to happen. Saying with the sacrifice of Mormons by Islam, Christians can be justified in being outraged because it wasn't them, but it was on American soil. And so then the violence will escalate. That's what we are on alert for, is a 9/11 event that will start civil war in America, that will cause America to start rounding up Islam and putting them in the Japanese internment camp off the I-80. Except that they'll own Utah by then. They'll be putting Mormons in there, rounding up the survivors, sticking them in the internment camp. There's only 25,000 plus in this valley, according to the stats. But we keep bringing in new ones. Refugees from Palestine who believe that Jesus is coming to destroy us. And here they are being brought to help support the war that's coming. And Joseph Smith warned you, they that come shall burn you. The enemy shall come by night and destroy everything in this valley. Joseph Smith warned you. He knew of the plot that had been planned for 200 years because of 9/11, 1826 in Canandaigua, New York. The real church history. So, as much as I can easily do videos commenting on ex-Mormons channel videos or Saints Unscripted over and over again and ignore the big picture that has been the focus of my videos all these years, I do need to get back to the basics with you. And yeah, it tanks my video views. You know, doing these other videos, yeah, it gets more attention, but you still are not taking advantage to look at my other videos. Only the few. We merry band of few. Well, so that's what concerns me, is that those few just don't live here in the valley. And so they just got their popcorn out. Waiting for the big show. With Armageddon music playing in the background. But yeah, we can't go to Zion and build Zion to have the only place of peace, safety, and refuge if Mormons continue to believe that Jesus is coming to murder Muslims, Christians, and Jews. That whole concept means Jesus isn't going to murder anybody. But that's Joseph Smith, not Brigham Young. And you missed it.